going away.
The drink.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I wholeheartedly offer whatever suits your time zone. It's another Blue Morning show. So, Blue Morning to you all. And I am happy to say, tell you guys that Harry found time to join us for this one. I had to I had to send him a message. I think it was a few hours ago, actually. And he said yes, and that made me very happy. And also, we have staff, a very experienced head. You could argue more experienced than Harry and I. So, staff, welcome back to Chelsea Perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having us on again. I always enjoy it.
Thank you. A very, very important topic to talk about because it's something that affects our club. And first of all, we have to let people know that we're really concerned. We're humans. We're concerned about what's going on in Ukraine. We're just trying to see things from Chelsea perspective. It doesn't mean that we do not care about the lives that are being lost on a daily basis since the conflict started. Hopefully, the world will put that together and then find a solution and put an end to it. So we are going to start by looking at the statement that Roman Abramovic did put out through the club's website, so that we have you guys will understand what we want to talk about, and also we will analyze the statement. And like I said before, I am happy that I have two people that when I thought about this topic, I thought about them. So let's get straight into looking at it. Share my screen. I think that's what it is. I'm already sharing it. Yeah, and I see, okay, he wants to join, right? So it's going to be a great shit today. I'm going to send it to your Twitter box so that people don't flood the stream. Let me send it to Norando here, a great guy also. Okay, invite, copy. There you go, Norando. Yep, I have it for you there, Norando. Yeah, so coming back to you guys, let's wait and see if Norando joins, then we will read the statement. And also, Viola, how are you doing? She was telling me today that she followed you, Harry. I don't know if you recognize that, just Viola.
Okay.
Also, yeah, big up staff. Thank you very much, Viola, for saying that. So let me start reading the statement. I do believe that Norando already knows about the statement. So let me go this way so that we can see it. I don't know. Can you two see the statement on the screen?
No, yeah, but I've read it anyway.
Okay. So the statement reads, during my nearly 20-year ownership of Chelsea FC, I have always viewed my role as a custodian of the club, whose job is ensuring that we are successful as we can be today, as well as build for the future while also playing a positive role in our communities. 1 second here, let me add Norando. In our communities, he said, I have always taken decisions with the club's best interest at heart. I remain committed to the values that is why I am today given trustees of Chelsea Charitable Foundation the stewardship and care of Chelsea FC. I believe that currently they are in the best position to look after the interest of the club, players, staff, and fans. I'll start with you, Harry, and Randall, welcome to the stream. I'll start with you, Harry. What do you think about this statement? Do you have any issues with it? Do you think it's complete, or do you think it's missing anything?
Yeah, well, when it first came out, I think we all knew it was quite big news, but we probably didn't really know exactly what it actually meant. And And I think probably over the last sort of 12 hours or so since it's all come out, it's starting to come clear that really what he's done is he's taken a step back, and he's essentially just shifted responsibility to the trustees, which includes people like Bruce Buck. But it sounds like the actual day-to-day running of the club hasn't really changed. So Marina Granovskaya is still running the club, sort of the contracts and transfers with Petr Cech. And I think probably short term, there had to be a statement because it was building, this was being talked about in Parliament. This was, MPs were getting involved left, right and centre. And in the media, it was all about Chelsea and what's going to happen with Abramovich. But I suppose there's still a few questions because we don't know in the long term what this is going to mean. And I don't think anyone does because, as we know, this is bigger than football. And we don't know what's going to happen with Russia and Ukraine. And I think probably the right thing to do was just to take a step back. And, we just needed some sort of statement just to essentially, clear the air with all the issues that are going on. And, it's not about Chelsea. This is bigger than that. So, there had to be a statement, but again, what it means in the long term, we don't really know. But obviously, in the short term, we just know that Roman Abramovic has taken a step back, and essentially the trustees are going to take over.
So overall, again, let me phrase this way: do you think it's a complete statement, or do you think it's missing anything?
I don't think it is really missing anything. I think there's been another statement today, isn't there? Where it was like a three-line statement where the club have just come out and said, we find what's happening in Ukraine is terrible. So I think there's an issue around what does Abramovich think. There seems to be a bit of a worry that, what does he actually think? And he should come out and say what he feels about the whole situation. But ultimately, the club have come out today and said, we don't agree with what's going on. And I think that's really all we wanted as fans is just to know that obviously, the club said we don't back what's going on there. And again, I think Roman Abramovich at the moment is trying to protect his asset, which, it's a big asset at Chelsea. So no, I don't think anything was missing. I think, you can't say too much at the minute. It's a very delicate situation. And I think, we all just want that clarity. But at the moment, we're not in that position to really know what is going to happen in the next few days and months.
Great input there. And I appreciate you. And that was why I had to reach out to you to make sure you participate in this Blue Morning episode. Coming to you, Norando, what do you think about the statement? Complete, incomplete, or do you think it's missing anything?
I think for the average football fan, it's complete. However, there are still those who are pressuring Chelsea. They want Chelsea to say a whole lot more than is deemed necessary. I think overall, it's a complete statement. He has stepped back. The club put out a statement this morning saying they're with Ukraine in this situation and they condemn essentially what's happening in Russia invading Ukraine. The average football fan, and based on what I saw in Parliament last week, they were expecting Roman Abramovich to come out and say all these things. So him distancing himself from the club and then allowing the club to say whatever, then it takes him out of the politics of trying to tie Chelsea with Russia instead of tying Abramovich with Russia. So I think it's a complete statement. Nothing more needs to be said. No, we await because, again, they're going to be expecting Chelsea to walk out today with the Ukraine flag or some sign in support of Ukraine as well. So the pressure is mounting from Parliament primarily. And I think what Chelsea does today, especially in the game against Liverpool at the beginning of the game, it will be watched by the entire world.
Wow, that's a very, very powerful point there. But the most important thing I picked up from what you said is they are not tying Chelsea to Roman Abramovich. Rather, what people and the media are doing right now is tying Chelsea to Russia. And even though they're not saying it like that, that's exactly what they are portraying the club to be. And it's important that you mentioned that all eyes will be on Chelsea today, seeing how they start the game, seeing whether they wear something that show that they support the Ukrainians, given how the whole thing started, who's the aggressor and who's being oppressed or something like that. I don't know how else to phrase it, so I don't come across as if I am for the other side and not for the other side, because there are Russians also dying But the truth is, we know how the whole thing started. So, start coming to you. Do you think the statement is complete, or do you think it's missing anything?
I agree with both Harry and what's his name, the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they've said,
Narando.
Yeah, I agree. Everything they've said is valid, yeah. But I have a different approach to it, right? There's nothing wrong with what they've said, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all valid. It's all spot on. But maybe because I'm older, shall we say, right? I agree with everything, but I also have a different approach to it, right? As far as I'm concerned, let's just say I express myself differently, okay? I come from a different era. For me, it's pure genius what he's done, right? This is how I would express it. Right?
Okay, you're talking in terms of protecting his asset.
Yeah, it's not just about protecting the asset. Like, look, it's pure genius what he's done, right? He's basically stepped away, okay? He's going to take the heat now, right? Anyone who wants to abuse him can abuse him, not Chelsea, okay? Right? It was quite clear, if you read between the lines, yesterday's, forget today's, that's come from the club, right? Roman couldn't be... it might have been better if that statement that's come out today, it came out yesterday, and then Roman made his statement. But Roman is in a difficult situation. I don't really want to make it like, but for him it's deadly. Okay, for him to say anything about Putin then puts him in danger. This is why I've seen Roman. Okay, I've met him a couple of times. I've sat behind him at Anderlecht, right, in the Champions League game. Because I have a friend in UEFA and he got me VIP tickets in the presidential box. And I was sat behind Roman, right? And if you saw the security he has around him, right, SAS cards and stuff like that, there's a reason for that, okay? Like I said to you yesterday, you have to pay lip service to someone like Putin. Doesn't mean you're one of his cronies.
Here's where I have an issue. Just 1 second. And if you're in the chat, please let us know if you think the statement is missing anything, if it should have been done differently, if it's a complete statement to you. Let us know if you're in the chat. Here's where I have the issue. I have an issue with the lip service, you called it.
Yeah.
If he does that, I don't know how you define lip service. To me, it's just being like, because they say silence
by not openly criticising him. By not openly criticising him. You have to remember that
it's a big issue. It's
but
a
his
two-way
family
sword, if you
are
ask
in
me.
Russia. He lives in Israel, but his family's in Russia.
Exactly.
Yeah?
But let me explain my issue there. It's a two-way sword. If he doesn't say anything,
I know what
then
your
the
issue
media will most definitely make a meal of that, saying because that's the only thing it will take. Practically, that's the only thing it would take for the British government to say, okay, no need trying to find a way, to sanction this guy. And also, if he says something, then I don't know how else to phrase this. If he says something and he's supporting Putin, that's a serious issue. So that it's like you said, it's a peculiar situation. Let me just put it that way. But go ahead.
The situation, right, is this.
Yeah.
None of the oligarchs, right, yeah, even the ones living in the UK, right, have made statements or comments, right, because they face the same situation. We're talking about a crazy man here with a long reach, okay, right? It's okay for us to say we have issues with the situation. He should have this, he should have that, etc., right? But we don't live that life. Right? Yeah, he's a billionaire. He has everything he wants, right? But he lives a different life.
I think we'll get to that aspect of the area where you're touching right now. Can you tell me, do you think really the statement is complete, or do you think it's missing anything?
It's complete. And if you read the statement carefully, read between the lines and everything, he's clearly stated that he loves the club. He's putting the club first. Right, He's made it quite clear he's not selling.
Okay, let's see it this way, Saab. Let's see it from the perspective of the conflict itself, or the crisis, if you like. Let me ask, this is for you guys, everyone on the panel right now. The fact that the statement did not say anything about the conflict, to some, is a big issue. What you have to say about that, Harry? I'll come to you, Stab.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a statement today which has sort of spoken about the conflict. So maybe they did.
And that you could argue did not come from him.
No, I think, as Sav was saying, I think it's a delicate situation with him because he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. So he needs, it's very difficult because you've got to try and separate Roman Abramovich from Chelsea because they are sort of, at the end of the day, even though obviously he's the owner, they are two separate things. And I think that statement yesterday was more about protecting the club than, talking about the conflict, which, yeah, again, I can understand the point of view that maybe he should come out and say something. But as we said, it's very difficult. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. You've got to remember with Chelsea as well, there's hundreds of people that are employed by the club as well. And, there's loads of people who are, cleaners, whatever you want to say, that need to be protected because, jobs were these things. So, it's really, I think the statement was aimed just to distance himself from the situation to protect those people and including the players as well, because, nobody knows what's going to happen. And, let's be honest, none of us are probably that fine-tuned with the politics of all these things as well. So, if you look at the statement from face value, I think it's very much just club trying to say that Roman Abramovich himself is distant from it. And then again, the club today have said, look, we condemn these actions. But again, I don't know how much Roman Abramovich is allowed to say. It's one of those things. I'd love to know how much he can say and what his thoughts are, but I'm sure it's not as simple as just coming out and saying those things.
I mean, I'm just pulling. I know this is a difficult question because it's the man himself is in a very, very difficult situation right now, and the truth is he cannot come out openly and say, okay, I hate what's going on there. Even if he does, he still has his family there, so that will, cause him a lot of problem. But we'll come back to whether he's done things right or if he still needs to do more. Noranda, to you, do you think leaving out, not mentioning the conflict or the crisis in any form in the statement, do you think it means anything? Do you think it's okay?
Can you repeat that for me, please?
That is not mentioning the Roman Abramovich statement. There's nowhere the crisis is mentioned. It's just all about the club.
Again, as I said before, him separating himself from Chelsea, because once people, not even people, based on what I saw in Parliament on Thursday, they literally tied Chelsea and Roman Abramovich to Russia. So it's Chelsea basically the representation of Russia in England, which I think is unfair because we don't tie Manchester United, for example, to the United States, or Liverpool to the United States, or Arsenal to the United States. Whenever there are instances where United States is doing anything, especially during the time of Donald Trump, there hasn't been a situation where the British media or what have you have come out and said, Liverpool needs to say this or Arsenal needs to say this. So I think them tying Chelsea to the entire Russia is a bit unfair. And I think Roman Abramovich, he foresaw all the heat that was coming on. I think he was prepared to step away from Chelsea and allow the trustees to take over, meaning Roman Abramovich, an individual, I am Russian, I live in Israel. UK had already sanctioned him, prevented him from living in the United Kingdom. And now they're asking him basically to say, I condemn you, Putin, yet you still can't live in the UK, but I condemn you, Putin, while living in Israel and his family living in Russia. So I think, again, you damn if you do and you damn if you don't, from his perspective, because they're tying him to Chelsea, regardless of where he is in the world and whatever he's saying, it will be a representation of Chelsea. So right now, I think it's best he says nothing. Whatever the club says right now, it will be basically the trustees saying it then. And I think based on what I'm seeing, who the trustees are, then these are all UK folks. So Roman Abramovich distance himself from the club. It allows the club not to say anything without the repercussions of Vladimir Putin falling down on his back.
This is. I mean, as much as I'd like to, know what's in his mind. You have to understand that he's in a very, very difficult situation, like we've established before. But we have to move on from that. But let me quickly get Dan's input on whether Dan. The question is, first of all, welcome back to Chelsea Perspective. Dan, the question is, do you think? Thank you very much, brother. Do you think this statement is complete, or do you think it's missing anything?
I think it's as complete as it possibly can be. I don't think that there's necessarily much more that he could say. Really, I'm not sure because he's in such a precarious position. I think there's not much more that he can let on. I would say, and I think it's as complete as one can be. And considering the fact that Roman Abramovich is a very private person and is not one for the public eye, I think that's about as explicit as he's ever going to be. So. That's sort of my view on it. But I think he said as much as he could, and it's just it's a difficult situation.
It is a very, very, very difficult situation. I'm going to go back to the statement again because the way it's worded, especially the area that's highlighted in green, I don't know if it's intentional. I think it's really broad, if you ask me. It's not really as specific as I, as an individual, would want it to be. Maybe it's, like I said, intentionally worded like that to leave room for, arguments in court cases or something like that. What does this mean? What does the sentence really mean?
Can you read it?
Yeah. Should I read it again? It says...
Yeah, read it, because I'm on mobile.
From here. It says, I have always taken decisions with the club's best interest at heart. I remain committed to these values. That is why, starting from here, that is why I am today given trustees of Chelsea Charitable Foundation the stewardship and care of Chelsea FC.
Okay,
what does that really mean?
Well, I'll talk. Can I explain?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
During my lifetime, I've worked for 2 housing associations, right? Okay. Housing associations are basically charitable trusts, right? Which is the same as the foundation. Now, the trustees, okay, they're the ones who take care of the finances and stuff like that. And the chief executive is answerable to the trustees. But you still have a management. Okay, you still have a chief executive officer. You still have area managers. You've got area housing managers. All they've got. They're all answerable to the chief executive, who then liaises with the trustees. Right now, the trustees, their main job. Like, let's get this straight. Okay, this foundation is to do with the charitable involvements of Chelsea Football Club in the communities. Okay, right?
Yeah, I understand what they do. What we want to know, Stav.
There's nothing wrong with that statement. There's nothing wrong
what does
with
it mean? What does it mean? That's the question. To you, how do you see it?
Well, basically, all he's done, right, he's shifted the focus on them. Right, you have to remember Bruce Buck's on it as well, and Emma Hayes, the women's football coach, right? They're still answerable to him, right? It's a cosmetic change, right? All it is it's cosmetic change. Marina, Bruce Buck, Petr Cech, like Harry said, they're still going to do the day-to-day running, okay? Bruce Buck's on that, so there's a link with the foundation and the board of Chelsea Football Club PLC, right? Then you've got the female coach on it. Don't be surprised if suddenly a couple more appear in that foundation, right? It's basically, it's a focus of attention for the media and stuff like that. And he's been quite clear, right, by using the word in the future, right, that he's going nowhere, right? Basically, he's stepping
No,
back
I
from
understand that
public
aspect,
vision.
but there's something I'm looking for, and I didn't mean to cut you.
What do you think
I'll
you're
come
missing?
back to you. I'll come back
What's
to you.
missing for you? What's missing for you?
No, I'll come back to you, and I'll ask you the question maybe the way you will give me the answer I'm seeking for, so to speak. Harry, how about you? How do you explain this statement here to an average Chelsea fan?
Yeah, so again, I think the first thing I was going to say as well is obviously Roman Abramovich hasn't been allowed in the country for a number of years now. So, I don't know how much his work over the last few years has sort of reduced over that time and how he's maybe delegated certain jobs to other people anyway. So, some of these people on the, the sort of trustee positions may have already been doing some of these day-to-day sort of jobs. I think it's one of those. I'm not too bothered that it's quite vague because I think, for years we didn't know what certain individuals were doing at Chelsea. I didn't really know at first what, Marina Granovskaya's job was at Chelsea, and we never questioned what other sort of members of, say, Man United's board are doing and all those things. So yes, it's quite vague in the sense that he says he shifted all his responsibilities to them. But, we, because of the situation, we would have never before really particularly cared, what these people on the board were doing. So, as long as the club's successful, you only sort of question it when either results are going against you or if a situation like this arises. So, again, I think the fact it is vague is probably isn't a bad thing because we, it's ultimately it's none of our business really in the sense of, we don't need to, well, the club don't need to justify to the media or any of us what people on these sort of trustee positions are doing. Again, I don't know how much responsibility is being put on them now because again, Roman Abramovich has had to take a hands-off sort of role over the last few years because he hasn't been allowed in the country. So, again, I think it's vague, but I think it's in layman's terms. I think essentially he's just saying I've given those responsibilities. He doesn't have to justify that. He doesn't have to justify exactly what those roles are.
Dan, let me come to you before I go to Naranda here. Do you see the statement differently? Is there anything that stands out for you there?
Who, me?
Yeah, Dan.
No, I don't see it differently at all.
Let me ask this question. The fact is that statement is really vague. The way it's phrased, maybe I don't understand English very well, or maybe I see it differently. The truth is, let me ask this question, or let me just switch to another aspect of what I had in mind. Why leaving the stewardship and care to, what is it called again? The trustees of Chelsea Charitable Foundation. Maybe I should just highlight this one here. Why is it like that, Dan?
Well, the
Coachella.
Chelsea Foundation.
Now I'll come to you, Stav, in a bit.
Chelsea Foundation has a number of key stakeholders on its board that have a vested interest in Chelsea. So
yeah,
I think the fact that he's done that is purely based on the fact of the level of trust that he has in those people. I mean, it's widely known the likes of Emma Hayes. I'm not sure who else. I know some of the names on the board, but I can't recall them. But I know that particularly like an example of like Emma Hayes has been at the club for better part of a decade, and she's built Chelsea women into a formidable outfit and one that's world class. So she's the embodiment of the perfect kind of person who could steer the club in the right direction. But I think it's if we peel back the layers of this statement, it's just over the past couple of years with the visa issues that Roman has had and various things that have happened with regard to the UK. This is something that's probably arguably been coming. So, look, it's difficult to glean much of an opinion from a statement because ostensibly statements that are given by organizations like Chelsea or owners or things like that are always going to be vague. It's something that's meant to quell sort of the sentiment in the public without being overly specific. There's a Viola coming up with all the names there. Bruce Buck, obviously, and I'm not sure. I know Piara Power is very close to, or
Mm-hmm.
Roman has a lot of confidence in her, and obviously Emma Hayes. But yeah, just with respect to public statements, they're always vague, and especially with someone like Roman who keeps his cards very close to his chest. I think his intention is clear, and I think that's what we get from the statement. But yeah, with respect to the Chelsea, the way things will run at Chelsea, nothing will change. You've still got Marina Granovskaya at the top. Petr Cech is there, so day to day Chelsea won't change. Um, it's just with respect to, as the statement has alluded to, protecting the club from any unnecessary personal liability with respect to Roman. I know he still retains ownership, and if there are sanctions to be had, then that could curtail any further investment. But at least this is a signal where Roman is essentially trying to abdicate his personal responsibility for steering Chelsea. So whatever bearing that necessarily has on him as a person, we don't know. But I think with respect to the sensitivity of the situation with Ukraine, I think it was important to detach the two. And you can see that Chelsea put out a statement today widely condemning and rightfully condemning the situation in Ukraine at the moment. Now that I feel that the statement yesterday gave them the freedom to do that. So it's clear that there's a separation now between Roman and the club, and so the club were able to make such a statement. Because if and I'm speculating here, but if the club makes a statement with Roman still very much the figurehead, then that could cause a lot of personal problems for the owner himself.
And the
So
club.
and the club itself, yeah. And but yeah, I think it's been done the right way. Look, I'm not going to sit here as a Chelsea fan and pretend that I like Roman as a person. I always like and respect him for everything he's done for Chelsea. He's been an incomparable owner, but it's difficult to know anything about Roman as a person. I'm aware of how he made his fortune, but there certainly are murky waters where it comes to that kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's probably what I'll say on that.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant answer, and I think the most important thing I picked from what your input there is that he sought to separate the club and him as an individual, which is very important. And I'll bring it. I think when I get to Stav, I think Stav, I expect him to explain how this is a strategy. Because one of the first things Stav said when he came on was that it's a genius move by Roman, and he sees it as a strategy. And if everything, if the strategy comes down to that statement that says that he's, handing over the stewardship to the charitable, whatever that name is there. So, Narando, I'll come to you. I'll go to Staff to round up that about the discussion about the statement. What do you think? Do you see that statement differently? Do you see it that is more on a surface level? Is just a statement, but I think there's more to that section of that statement than meets the eye. What do you think, Naranda?
I think, as the individual who spoke before me said, um, the separation is pivotal in this. And I think what Stav would be alluding to, they spoke about seizing assets, and Chelsea Football Club is an asset of Roman Abramovich. And if the UK were to seize anything now, they'd be attempting to seize it from a charitable foundation. So I think it's ideal. The timing is ideal as well. The separation is pivotal, and going forward, anything that has to do with Chelsea will ideally won't have anything to do with Roman Abramovich. For the foreseeable future, as things stand now. In the back of our heads, we'll be saying Roman Abramovich still, but what he did there, he ensured that, okay, in writing, these are the individuals who are responsible. If anything is being said about me and about Chelsea or whatnot, they'll have to separate us as entities. So they'll have to treat us accordingly. If you want to sanction Roman Abramovich, Chelsea won't feel the blunt repercussions of these. You'll be basically sanctioning a charitable foundation.
I think I just caused a problem here because that's probably what Stav would have said, and that's why. And then if you look at the answers we got from each person, it's broad, it's vague. That statement is vague and probably intentionally worded as it is because we picked up something important from Dan, which is separation of the, you could call it entities. That is the club as an entity from the owner. So there's less of a problem. That doesn't mean the problem is over. However, it will be difficult for the British government to navigate the fact that Chelsea, that is the stewardship, is now in the hands of a charity body. It will not be easy. But if they really want to do it, they will find a way to do that and do it. So, Stav, coming to you, go ahead, say what you wanted to say so we can move on to the next part of the discussion.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, like, just don't read too much into the word stewardship, right? The same people are running the club, okay? The same people will be contacting Roman for permission to do this or that. Yeah. Right? The foundation is just a figurehead, right? If you're going to try, like you said yourself, and like Dan said, and that, right, if you try to take the club from a charitable foundation, it's gonna make it a lot more difficult, right? And how can I put it? It makes the government look worse trying to take it from them than taking it from Roman. But I stand by everything I said yesterday. They cannot take that club, even if they wanted to. If they wanted to, they would have done it by now, right? If they wanted to sanction it, they would have done it by now, right? The guy who I mentioned yesterday, Chris Bryant, has moved from sanctions to he should sell the club. Yeah? They're no longer talking about sanctions. They're talking about he should sell the club. Yeah? Right? So now he's passed it on to this foundation. He was quite clear that there is a future, right? There is a future with him in the club. This is for the time being, right? And for it to move on and take him and the club out of the heat that he's facing. So everything goes on to Roman instead of the club, right? But like someone said in the comments at the bottom, if nobody has ever proven that Roman's an enabler or a supporter, right? We explained it yesterday, didn't we? So anybody who needs to know more about it, watch yesterday's program, right? He's not an enabler. He had to deal with him because he was a governor, right, of a Russian district, right? So if you're a governor, you still have to deal with the president. It's just like it, or the prime minister, whatever you want to call him. Just like you have to do with Medvedev. Putin isn't the only one you have to deal with. You have to deal with Medvedev. You're answerable to the head of state, right? It's as simple as that. We discussed that yesterday. This statement merely shifts everything onto the foundation. Same people are running the club, right? They'll still be answerable to the same person. Like I said yesterday, he's already turned down an offer from America. But one thing I want to say, and it's something Dan, I think it was Dan, a couple of the other lads have said, right? He has never been proven to be an enabler of anybody or to have killed anybody or to have been involved in any suspect. No billionaire is squeaky clean. None. Not in any country.
That's a fact. And again,
don't become rich by being squeaky clean, right? But
yes.
The thing I want to say is, if the British government are putting so much pressure, right, now because of the Ukraine, right, and they want a statement from him or they want to do this and do that to anybody who's Russian, why are they not bothered about selling weapons to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, let's not make it. Let's not make it politics, please. That's where let's not make it politics.
It's about hypocrisy. What I'm trying to say to you, the British government have their own agenda, right? They are selling weapons to the owner of Newcastle United, who is bombing Yemen, right? Who is blockading food being ferried to the Yemen, and children are starving to death in Yemen. Just as bad, and it's been going on for a long time, just as bad. But that's okay, because they're selling weapons and because it's in the Middle East, right?
All right.
It's not to do with Europe. The
All right,
hypocrisy
I understand.
is
I
there.
understand your point. Let's not move
No,
it
what I
towards
want is people who are criticising Roman or criticising Russian.
We'll talk about that, but we're still on the statement, and I'll
I
come back to you, Star.
I want a level playing field. I want a level
I
playing
understand.
field.
I get your point. So quickly now, I'm gonna come to you with this. I just lost what I wanted to say because I was fighting with Stav. Now, overall, the statement, reading it, now I'll come to you, Harry. Sorry, Nick Blue. Sorry, my apologies. Nick, welcome to the stream, and Helgi, welcome to the stream. And before we continue, I'd like to say something here. Harry, I know you don't have a channel yet. You don't have one, but you're one of the biggest Chelsea fans that I've ever met. Always on the panel for other channels supporting and talking about Chelsea. I appreciate that. Do you have any channel?
No, I don't. No, just I spend too much time on Twitter. That's all.
He's too young to get involved in all that nonsense. Too young and too sensible.
We have Norando here. Halftime. Your channel is called Halftime Show, right? So
Yeah,
if you're on the
Halftime
panel, Halftime Show TV, right? Yeah. So if you're in the chat or on the panel, please go check out Norando's channel. Great videos there. I think it's not just Chelsea, right? Because I've been there before. Yes, but he's he has great. You could call it analytical acumen in terms of football. And that's why I love to go watch his video whenever I have time. So I think you should go do the same. Subscribe. First, if you want, try his videos. And if you like it, subscribe. And also we have Dana from Ish, another football podcast. Dana is another great football analytical mind. I love listening to him. You should go try his podcast. And I've told him before, what I like the most about the Ish, another football podcast, is the how did I phrase it again? The relaxed approach to the whole thing makes you feel like you're part of the conversation, and it's not just about Chelsea. It's about the Premier League overall. And I think sometimes they do talk about international football. And I think you should go check it out. I think you will love it. We have Nick Blue. Nick is one of the I think I compare him to Star because they've been supporting Chelsea Football Club for a long time, and I respect them both. Their input are great. They are experienced. They know how the structure of the club very well and how the club is run. And also I have Helgi here, my friend, but I like to fight with him because he always comes with an opposing input. But that's good. We cannot. It's a good thing. If we all agree like that, then something isn't really right. So coming to you, and by the way, I will provide the link to Halftime Show TV's channel, and I also provide the link to each another football podcast whenever the video is ready. Coming to you, Nick Blue. Welcome back to Chelsea Perspective.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Coach. Yeah,
as always, I appreciate you finding time to join. So, Nick, what do you think about the whole statement, the whole situation? Do you think? Let me just ask you what I asked others on the panel. Do you think the statement is complete, or do you think it's missing anything?
No, this is a Roman statement. You can tell he never speaks a lot. He doesn't like speaking, especially to the media. And when he does put something out, it's like this. It's small. It's small, but we know what it means. And what it means is he loves Chelsea. Chelsea is his club, but he puts himself second to Chelsea Football Club. He puts himself second because he knows, like we all know, we're going to all be gone, but Chelsea Football Club will be here for many more centuries. That's what he's meaning, I can tell. And all these media talk, They've been against us for years and years. You know, us always against Chelsea. Even when we were in the second division, they were against us. You know, this media corrupt. You know, I've never seen anything like it. Now it's even worse. And, you know, and big up to all the Russian people. Look at the people in Russia. They're Russia. They have, you know, nothing to do with what that idiot is doing. That monster, Putin. They don't want him. They don't want him, but they can't. They can't do nothing. Same with Roman. He's Russian, and you know they should respect him for what he is, not what Putin is. It's nothing to do with Roman. This government is corrupt. You know, really badly. I'm very annoyed with all this. You know, what's going on with this government and media. I don't listen to no media. I don't trust none of them. I never will. And I want to say one more thing. I've been tweeting, you know, it's very important today, a very important day, not just because it's a League Cup final, because what's going on in Roman. You know, if I don't hear our 35,000 Chelsea fans that when it's not shouting Roman's name, I'll be disgusted. You know, I couldn't get a ticket. I queued up on that member thing, you know, all day that day. But I wasn't enough to get a ticket. But if I was there, I would get them fans going, like I used to us in the shed in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think the media, I think they always they make a meal of it whenever it's about Chelsea. That's certain. And I want to just say something that Norando said before. Unfortunately, he had to leave because he has something else that he wants to go and do. So he said something about all eyes will be on Chelsea today, how they start the game, whether they will wear something to show they're truly in support of the Ukrainians, given the situation they found themselves in. But that's, by the way, Helgi, quickly, I want you to also say what you think about the statement, whether you think it's complete or whether you think it's missing anything before we move to the next segment of the show quickly.
In my opinion, for the time being, it's really complete, and it's another indication that the other pundits that support other clubs, like Mika Richards said yesterday, they're trying to put fuel to the fire by saying it's not complete. You know, as Nick said, it's more or less the nature of Roman to be as summarized as possible in the word he said. And for us, the fans who have supported the club for a considerable amount of time and can read also between the lines and understand the situation, or at least as I see it, because I'm not an expert in this financial or sanction stuff, the discussion that is going on. But in terms of the statement that he has put, I think that it's just the formal stuff of taking a step back, but practically it's more or less the same that we have now. So the Euro, he is delegating his competence to the other people that take care of the club, while de facto he is still the owner and he can still put money into the club and he can still control things from an outside position, if we can call it in this way. But in terms of understanding what he has meant, I am totally clear, and it's just I'm not focusing on Roman as a person outside football, because even if I want it, I'm not so informed about it. But in terms of seeing Roman as an owner of the club, I see it as a very unselfish gesture, and also a very clever one, something that Stan Kroenke at Arsenal, or Henry at Liverpool, or maybe other American, Daniel Levy at Tottenham, I think wouldn't have done it in a million years if they were in a similar position. They would have rushed to sell the club and escape from the media pressure and whatever, while he is protecting the club from all the negative talk going around, trying to keep the guys focused, because we have not only one game today, but also a lot of other crucial games to come. So it's another indicator that he has, as I have read also in the Soccernomics, he's one of those owners who don't see the club as a business to profit from it, but sees the club as an opportunity to make it as successful as possible, as he has done for the 19 years or so. Unlike the American owners who you spend in Europe because football is way more popular than their native football, if we can call it in this way, and try to get profits from the club's earnings for their own pocket. So this is another selfish and clever gesture from Roman, and I see it very clear that it's just a temporary step back in order and to make him, and he will also come back also formally, because practically he is there when the things calm down again, and hopefully they will come down as soon as possible, because we know how severe the situation is, and not much more to say about this, but that's how I see it, and I don't think that there is much to go through. People are trying to complicate things more than they are needed. For me, it's totally clear, and that's it. So that's my opinion.
It's a good opinion there, Helgi.
Thanks.
Yeah, spot on, Helgi. Can I just say something, right?
So, Mute, I'll come to you, Stav. I'll come to you.
Go on.
I was saying, if you ask me, I'd say it's complete. But you and I know there are those out there who would question, the way the statement is worded, the language is used in it, and the fact that the conflict isn't mentioned to me. But that's by the way. I'm going to ask this question now. I'll start with you, Harry. Now, we heard Stav when he said he had to lip service, which clearly means he had to be careful what he says in public. Okay. Now, since his decisions are still, to some measure, influenced by whatever goes on in Russia, that's a big problem. I don't know if you've read the article by Forbes, say something about that he has $2 billion insurance on Chelsea. That's the loan. That if worse come to worse, if the sanctions come heavily on him, he could decide to call in the loan, ask for it, and then Chelsea will be out of business or bankrupt. So since, again, whatever happens in Russia influences his decision, what if he's pressured to do that?
To be honest,
I'll let you go, because that article even said if it comes to that, if they force him, if he does it, and then Putin will say you started it. That means people are still seeing it. That is connecting the whole thing, Putin, Russia, Roman Abramovic, and Chelsea. So what do you think? Isn't that a big problem? The fact that whatever happens in Russia still influences his decision-making in terms of Chelsea and whatever he does in the UK. Don't you think it's a problem?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the statement, I think essentially it was a kind of trying to separate football from politics. It was trying to say, look, I'm obviously this political figure at the moment, and I'm trying to, separate the football side from his side of things. It's very hard in football to separate politics from those matters in football. Things like racism, sexism, all these things have an influence, whether we like it or not. It's, football can influence those things. That's why you see the gestures like taking the knee. Regarding the article with Forbes, I did see a little bit about it. But, I think saying about sanctions and stuff, these are all if buts and maybes at the minute. We don't really know what's going to happen in the future, which is why, there's this whole panic about what's going on right now. I think Chelsea will always be an attractive club for someone to buy, first of all, as well. So this impression that Chelsea, won't be around, whatever happens with Abramovich, I don't think is true. This club's been around since 1905. It's seen 2 world wars. It's been through everything. The media is obviously going to try and sell a story as best as they can, and I've seen things about MPs going relegate Chelsea and, how can Chelsea fans support the team today? But, it's all just, again, political point scoring. It's all about getting the most clicks as you can. And I think sometimes you've got to try and look through that, and none of us should feel like, oh, we can't support the team. And, you can separate football and politics to a degree, because, the 8-year-old kid that walks down the road in a Chelsea shirt has no idea about all these things that's going on right now. Again, I'd always take those things with a pinch of salt, articles like Forbes and, the issue that it might have on Chelsea in the future, because, again, until we actually know the bigger picture of what's going to happen in the next, weeks, months, it's very hard to know what's going to happen with Abramovich. And again, if we go back to what we've been talking about, the statement initially, I think it's just trying to distance the politics from the football side of things. And, as the guys were saying earlier, it's almost trying to say, they can't take the football club away, essentially. It's been there for so long. And by distancing himself, it's very hard for politicians to step in and try and force anything on a football club.
Yeah, but I know you were gonna give an answer that I will rethink my question again, but I'm still really, really concerned. He's a very smart guy. See how he took his time to melt my brain, and now, but I'm still gonna come. Dan, what do you think, really? Because clearly, the statement did not say anything about a crisis in any form. It is just Chelsea focused. So that clearly tells us there's some measure of link between him and the country, which is not a surprise. It's his country of birth. That's where he is from. So that brings us to the question, don't you think they can pressure him into just finding a way? Because whatever happens to Chelsea, it will create an economical issue in the UK to a certain measure. People can lose their jobs. A lot will go wrong if anything happens to that club. Don't you think what's come to worse, just to find a way to affect or impact the British economy, even if it is by 0.99999% or whatsoever, they will pressure him to call in the loan, and then the problem starts.
To be quite honest, I think that's a bit of a far-fetched thing to do, because that would essentially be a witch hunt on behalf of the British government. I think like a move like this by Roman would preempt that. And I think if that were to happen, I think what would essentially be put in place is the fact that the Chelsea Foundation would then look to sell the club. I think then they would look to find another owner. But I think I think there are a lot more steps that have to happen before that
it comes to that.
Because it's significant in the fact that Roman is now apparently, from what I've read in the news, is essentially he can no longer live in the UK again. I think they made it very, very hard for him to live there again, or maybe even possibly enter the country. So
even though he's an Israeli citizen.
Yeah, so he's also a Russian citizen, so that they can block him from that point. I mean, it's essentially the same person. So I don't know I'm not an immigration expert, so I don't know the ins and outs, but that's what I would assume. But I would think that it was a point of conversation in Parliament, in the British Parliament, so the House of Commons. So clearly there are eyeballs on Roman Abramovich, but it was notable that the Prime Minister didn't further the discussion of the British MP there. I forget what his name, Paul Bryant or something it was. Chris Bryant, sorry. I just think it would be a little bit of an extreme scenario for the British government to then take such steps to go after the club like that. And essentially, given the fact that Roman has now relinquished control of Chelsea, so clearly he's backed off from this fight, and he's essentially saying that okay, leave Chelsea alone, and I've given up control, and that's essentially where he's going from there. But I would think, and I'm speculating here from my own personal opinion, I would think that such a situation would certainly make the club more attractive to a buyer, given the fact that Roman is in such a precarious political situation. Now, if anybody wanted to buy Chelsea, now is probably the right time to do it. And I think many people on Twitter have also said that every sort of custodian or every owner of a club sort of always comes to a natural end. And I wonder if this might be Roman's natural end at Chelsea, especially given in the context of just having won the Club World Cup. There's nothing for Chelsea left to win. So under Roman Abramovich. So look, he's one who's remained committed to Chelsea, and it was pointed that after the Champions League final, he made a signal to Tuchel, essentially prompting him to go again to continue winning. So I'm not going to say that Roman's going to just give up, but I'm just saying I'm calling into question from my own view as to whether maybe this might be a natural end point and a time for us maybe to move on to a different owner, different horizons, different someone else to take control. I don't know. Do I want it to happen? No, not necessarily. I think Roman's been a fantastic owner. But yeah, I wonder if this is now maybe the first in a long line of steps that lead to maybe perhaps a new owner.
Yeah, I do understand your concern, and I think that thought that does come to mind if you sit down and think about it, because he's a human being after all. And why would you, let if you're going through such a situation, because it doesn't look like there's an end in sight within the back and forth, the Russians, the British, the Americans, and all that. It doesn't look there's an end in sight. So if he's strong enough to be going through it until the end of his life, that's some people would say, you know what, I'm done with this. And he's a human being, and at some point, I think he could say, if this is going to keep going, I'm just going to let go. But I hope that's not the case, because we love him. I think you made a very, very great point there. I'm going to come to you, Helgi. Do you think he can be pressured to call in the loan?
As long as he released that statement yesterday, I think that he has things in control. And the fact that he's delegating his competence to people who currently work at the club shows also that indirectly shows that he can't. So at least for the time being, he's still in a good position of regaining his formal, let's say, status of the owner of the club in a short amount of time. But the thing is that it's another stuff to sell the club, and something is to sell the club, and something else is to sell the club to somebody who just wants to invest and doesn't.
I'm sorry. Okay, so now you just solved the problem, right? Every panelist is wearing glasses now. Go ahead, Helgi.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
Helgi.
the thing is that he has the things in control, I think, at least for the time being, and I think that will be the case even when he regains his formal status of being the owner of the club. It's not that he doesn't have, but I think that, as I started to say before, is something is to sell the club, and something else is to sell the club to somebody who invests for his own profit. And Roman will, even in an extreme scenario that we all hope, I think every sensible Chelsea fan hopes that it doesn't happen, he will know to let's say, to select or who would be the best option to sell the club to. He not long ago he turned down an offer, I think, from Jim Ratcliffe, an American billionaire who wanted to buy the club.
Helgi is British.
Yeah, okay, but I knew that it was an offer at the time, and he turned it down. So if it is for him, he is still as committed as ever. But even if an extreme scenario happens, I don't see him just selling to the first one who gives a proposal, because he loves the club and he knows what's the best to see in perspective, in the sense that to detach those owners who can spend just for their own profit, and those owners who can be committed in terms of building a team, sticking to a project, and supporting the manager. So yeah, but as it stands, I think that will still be the case of him getting the status again as quickly as possible. I can't give an assurance in that, as Dan said. It's also for me is a personal perspective, knowing Roman, that he doesn't give up immediately in this kind of scenarios. He doesn't see the club just.
What if his strategy is just not to sell it in a rush? Because the
Of course,
fact is,
yeah,
I think they say where there's blood, that's where sharks flock. Because there's been some potential buyers circulating, trying to see if it's safe.
yeah,
Because they know deeper,
that's what
they
I'm
probably know
saying.
more than we know. That's the reason why they even
That's what I'm
approach.
saying. So I mean
Yeah.
that he. That's what I'm saying. He's not that kind of owner who will rush to sell the club just to save himself or extra
Mm.
pressure. So that's I mean that he will evaluate things more than we all do, because we are just fans of the club initially. Somebody has more knowledge on the topic than the other, while he's a multi-billionaire who, of course, has also his advisors and will be well prepared for every kind of circumstances. Just like he released a statement yesterday in a moment that we didn't really expect it from somebody who is
Mm.
relatively taciturn with the media stuff and prefers to be silent rather than to speak out, whether publicly in video statements or in terms of the release statement that went in the club website yesterday. So the fact that he has clarified the situation means that he has still things well in control. The things that the foundation that has the club at the moment is still it consists of people employed by him, people he were trusted by him. So this is a very good indication, and I think it completely clears the air, at least until the severe situation is still on, and we hope that it's over as soon as possible, so things can get cleared even more. But for the time being, I feel that he couldn't have cleared it any
All right.
better. I feel that he is still the owner, and he's still committed as
Yes.
before.
Great input right there. And I'm gonna come to Star because as one of the most experienced here, he will help us round off the segment. And let's see. I'll come to you, Harry. This statement right here concerning, I think you could say, if UK government targets Russian billionaires in a way that affects them considerably, there will be a massive flight of wealth from UK. You can find out all dubious billionaires are based out of Dubai, London, and Monaco. Is this something you'd like to touch on, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, again, just going back to what the guys have said earlier on, really, I think there is, no rush to sell at the moment, again, because the situation is so messy. As one of the guys said as well, it was a few years ago when Jim Ratcliffe did want to buy Chelsea, and he did offer, and it was turned down. Obviously, I don't think out of choice Roman Abramovic is going to want to sell Chelsea by any stretch. And I remember a few years ago, taking the politics out again, there was this feeling that maybe he'd lost interest, and you certainly don't get the feeling with that. From a football point of view, he was smashing transfer records last summer and all those sort of things. And again, talking about sort of certain people that might be interested in buying the club, as much as we say, he's not just going to sell it to anyone, he can buy his time. Of course, there'll always be a process as well that the football league have to go through where, they need to fit and proper persons test. So, we should hopefully be all right. We'll always have plenty of buyers interested in Chelsea. Again, it's all a bit of if buts and maybes at the minute. I'm quite hopeful now that the sort of statement that Roman Abramovich has come out with has sort of distanced himself from the situation. And again, in the next few weeks and months, it'll be clear what's going to happen. I expect he is expecting some sort of sanctions, as you were saying, because obviously the government are targeting, billionaires, and they're going to want to try and cut off as much wealth from Russia as they can. But I think from a Chelsea point of view at the minute, I don't think it will change. But again, at the end of the day, we're all football fans. None of us are probably that interested in politics. I know I'm certainly not interested in politics at all. And he's given us so much success that, we don't really want that to change. I mean, I've supported Chelsea since, probably it was the Ranieri era where I sort of mainly remember. The first trophy we won is the trophy we're going for today under Mourinho. That was the first one I remembered. So, again, I don't want to sort of speculate on who's going to get sanctioned and who's going to buy the club, because ultimately none of us want it to change. We're living in the most successful period of the club's history, and we've won everything, and to be honest, most things we've won more.
I'm with you. Oh, okay. So you're okay. I think that's a great input, but I think the clear thing there is that definitely if that happens, it will affect the UK economy one way or the other. Dan, how about this comment right here for you?
Worth noting that in the Bloomberg side of things, we have a couple of players interested in investing in the club, including the Americas owning McLaren Racing. I'm not sure anything about who owns. I know something to do with who owns McLaren. I know Zach Brown is the chairman there at McLaren, but I don't know who owns McLaren. But I'm always a little bit reticent with respect to American owners, because it's just if you take it purely on the Premier League as a sample size, it's a very hit and miss situation, because you've got like John W. Henry and Fenway Sports Group at Liverpool, who invested very wisely in their club and have seen Liverpool win the Champions League and the Premier League. But then, of course, you get the likes of Stan Kroenke at Arsenal, who's keen to leverage the club for profit and to sort of boost his coffers. And then you also have a situation at Man United with the Glazers, who are keen to use the club as collateral to service their own investment ambitions. So I don't know. America seems to be a different market. If we get someone who's has the same level of interest as Abramovich does with respect to on-pitch performance, then that's great. But if they're looking to use Chelsea as a cash cow to sort of further their own interests, that's always a possibility. I mean, you can't tell someone who spends £2 billion on buying Chelsea what to do with their money, So that's always the fear. We've been fortunate in the sense that we've had an owner whose primary ambition was to win trophies and to sort of expend or to engage in any expense to make that a reality. But whether we'll get somebody the next time who is the same, cut from the same cloth, we're not sure. But again, like I think Harry said there, very good point in the sense that none of us really want the ownership to change. And it's probably no use speculating that it will change, because the situation for us fans is relatively uncertain. But we'll watch with close eyes and sort of fingers crossed from our perspective that things go well. But of course, first and foremost, and I haven't said this before, our thoughts are with everybody in Ukraine. That is sort of should be at the primary, at the forefront of everybody's thinking. I mean, it's a needless war that is costing the lives of innocent people and infringing on the sovereign rights of a country. So, yeah, that's probably what I have to say about that.
And I think that's a great input there. I mean, this is a difficult situation for everyone, the fans, and you and Harry, you echoed Harry's statement that we're not politicians, especially we the fans, and we don't want to be politicians. And I mean, we're just seeing things from a fan's perspective, but we're trying to see if we can understand the whole situation and make sense of the whole thing that's going on. I'm going to go straight to VJ. And Dan, please, if once DJ start talking, can you hold on? I hope you're not. If you're not, it's not time for you to leave. Just keep running. I'll be back in 3 minutes. VJ, what do you think about the whole situation?
Absolutely. First thing that I'd like to start with is big up to the panel. Lots of good people that I respect are on the panel, so always good to talk football with them. Nick Blue, I'm seeing your face for a long time, so big up to you as well. And talking about this situation, Roman Abramovich situation, of course, it's a bit of conundrum. We've seen that statement being released yesterday. The first thing that I did was get into the specifics of that because you guys know, right? I look at Chelsea from a different angle, like not just the sporting side of it. I like the business side of it, and that's why I went into the details. I looked at their account statements. I looked at the other financials associated with it, and this is what I gathered as well, right? One thing that we have to realize is when we talk about economic sanctions being levied upon Abramovich, we'll have to be very careful when we say that because we don't know exactly what type of sanction it's going to be, right? Because if you look at US historically, the way that they actually sanction Russia before this, it's been multiple types of sanctions, ranging from embargo sanction, export control, capital control, trade sanctions, asset freezes or seizures, travel restrictions. These kind of sanctions, right? These are different types of sanctions. So when they say, and all of these come under the bucket of economic sanctions. So when they say there is going to be an economic sanction on Roman Abramovich, we exactly don't know what type of sanction is going to be levied on him. And there are sanctions that can actually protect his asset, which is Roman Abramovich's asset. And if at all those kind of sanctions are levied, like say, for example, if there is an asset freeze or seizure sanction that is being put on Roman Abramovich's assets, it means that he doesn't have the power to sell or withdraw the asset that he is currently holding, which means that even if he wanted to sell Chelsea Football Club, he will not be able to because the asset in itself will be freezed, right? Similarly, there are multiple types of sanctions. There's a capital control sanction. What it essentially says is that you basically cannot invest any more into the asset that you hold in a particular jurisdiction. In this case, it could be UK, right? So we need to understand the type of sanction, first of all, that is going to be levied upon.
Sorry, BJ, can I ask you this quickly? Are you into finances?
Yes, I am.
Okay. No, I get it. Go ahead.
I am into finances. Sadly, yeah, it could be boring at times, but yeah, I'm into finances. So I look at accounts and statements and stuff like that. Anyways, so since we don't know the kind of sanction that is actually going to be put on Abramovich, it is difficult right now as to speculate on what are the possible outcomes it could be. One more thing that we have to also understand is that people always say Roman Abramovich, I've seen rival fans from yesterday talking about Chelsea PLC, the company, as a company is actually owing. When I say owing, it is in debt to Roman Abramovich by $1 billion, which is in essence to an extent true, but it's not the actuality. If you look at it, the subsidiary company, which is Chelsea, of the parent company, which is Folkestrom Limited, which is owned by Roman Abramovich, owes Camberley Investment. The Camberley Investment is the investment management company which actually provides fund to Folkestrom Limited. So Folkestrom Limited is the company which actually owes Camberley Investment. It's not Chelsea owing directly to Camberley Investment Limited. So if you ask me, is it viable for someone like Roman Abramovich to sell Chelsea Football Club to a different different owner? Will that sort out the problem? Probably not. The reason why I say that is because under the Folkestrom Limited umbrella, if you see the companies that are being enlisted in it, all the companies are Chelsea and Chelsea relevant companies, right? Chelsea, it's not just the Chelsea football side of it. There are multiple Chelsea relevant companies like Chelsea Tourism, and there's so much. There's close to 9 to 10 companies which I'm not able to recollect right now, but those many companies are all Chelsea relevant companies, and that altogether is what envelops to form the Folkestrom Limited. So it makes more sense for him to sell Folkestrom Limited directly than to sell Chelsea, the footballing side of it, the Chelsea PLC. So it might look a bit boring when you look at these things, but I think these are certain things that if we understand, can provide more context into what is actually happening in the ground. And the statement yesterday, coming to the statement, what it could probably tell us is basically what he's actually been doing as well, right? He doesn't actually involve in the day-to-day operation of things, right? Even before this. But right now, because the pressure of the opposition parties, MPs, and all of these guys in the parliament in the British side, what basically has happened is he is now forced to actually say this in the public, that he right now is distancing himself from the asset to enable him to enable the asset to run the day-to-day operation of things. Because if he's closely associated with the asset, he will not be able to run the asset. The asset will not be able to run its day-to-day operations, and it will be blocked. Right? To avoid doing that, he basically has to distance himself and has to fight out a judicial battle if he can win it. And if he can win the judicial battle, he can again come back and take over the asset that he's currently owning. That's probably the procedural way of dealing with this. We've had this similar case back in India once. If you guys remember Force India, Vijay Mallya and Force India in the F1 racing, side of it. Like he did the same thing as well. Basically, distancing yourself will be the first step, and then you have to fight out a judicial battle with the court, with the nation's court. And if you win the court, win it in the court, then you have the authority to get back, or you can come back to the club and take back whatever is your asset. Until that, you have to allow the asset to be run by a governing body, which in this case would be a trust. And since this is a charitable trust, it also means that it would be very difficult for the government to come in and just forcefully take it from or put on sanctions or seizures on this particular trust, because it's a trust now, right? It's not a company. It's not a it is a private entity, but it's more of a trust. And these are certain things that is being. I think Roman has done it based on the advisors that are actually advising him to move about it. Like basically all these are legal advices that is probably being given to him, and it's probably finding ways to actually navigate through this treacherous waters. But I think it's fairly very early for us to assume that Roman is probably going to be leaving the club, is how I'd conclude.
Now, let me ask you this, Vijay. Of all the sanctions, types of sanctions you've named, which will be the most devastating if it happens?
Couple of things. One would be the capital control, which means that he cannot invest in the asset anymore, and there is an asset seizure sanction as well, which would just freeze the asset. The asset cannot do any operational moves at the same time. The asset cannot be sold or bought by any other external parties. So these are basically, so when you actually levy an asset seizure sanction on any organization, it basically means that until the case is completed in the judicial ruling, and you have a judicial ruling for it, you cannot basically do anything with the asset. It's basically like a sealed entity. That's bad for the club, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say it now. I know you made some great point there, but the truth is you've left me more confused than I am before the show started. But
oh my goodness.
I'd have to message you privately to get to understand the whole thing very well. Did we lose Tav? It looks like it. So Dan, since you're living in a beat, and Harry, I did send you a private message. I don't want to hold you here. In case we want to do our predicted lineup, because Saturdays, Blue Moon is marathon. On the other days, it can be 30 minutes, it can be 1 hour. So I don't want to hold you down. You've done a great by even finding time to join.
Or so, if you like.
Sorry?
I can be around for the next 20 minutes or so, if that helps.
Okay, that's perfect. It's up to you. Dan, you want to say anything before you leave? And Dan, I want to tell you this honestly. I think you should invite Harry and Helgi and also VJ and even staff to your podcast, man. These guys are great, and you've seen it yourself.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. I'd love to have you guys on at some point. Yeah, I just want to say thanks again for having me on, and hopefully we get some certainty as to the Chelsea situation relatively soon. But very good points there by VJ. I actually learned a lot, and funnily enough, I understood what you were saying. So that certainly opened my eyes a little bit more there. So thanks for that. But yeah, just thanks again for having me on. It's been fun, and let's get that win today, beat Liverpool, and enjoy the game. Yeah.
If I may just add one thing, sorry to cut you off there. I know in the essence of time I was a bit quicker in the way that I explained, but I've actually released a video yesterday back in my channel SportsWire. It's an 18-minute video, but then it's very detailed, very slowly explained. So if at all you don't, I've explained the types of sanction in detail and stuff. So if you'd like to know more about that, you could probably check that out as well. Here, in the essence of like 6 people talking, I had to rush through it because I don't want to keep you guys waiting for a long time, and I cannot.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Again, you see Dan say he's learned quite a lot, and Yeah, go ahead, Dan. You were saying something so that I know you want to leave.
No, that's just basically just up the Chelsea. Let's beat Liverpool and get Carabao Cup, and that's about it.
All right, thank you very much, bro. See you
Cool.
during our meeting. I appreciate
Cheers,
you
guys.
finding time to join.
Take it
That
easy,
means
guys.
a lot to me. So, Stav, coming to you quickly to round up this section for us so that we can go into the lineup. Helgi, do you want to say anything before Stav rounds up the section for the segment for us?
No, just learned a lot from Vijay. The
VJ, right?
Topic. Yeah. So it was very educative, and that's why we are here. Also, not just to share our perspective, but to learn from each other. And it was great.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much, VJ. That was an awesome. If you go ahead, Stav, can you round up the segment for us? So we'll start the predict that lineup. Go get some rest before the pregame show, please. And Harry wants to leave like in 20 minutes. Let's see, maybe he will help us pick the midfield. That's where I think it will be difficult to pick.
Did you have a bad night's sleep last night?
You mean me?
Yeah.
I just had to ask questions that will help us learn. Why do you ask that? I asked.
You're just putting too much emphasis on the word stewardship, right? Yeah. You put too
What
much
did I
emphasis,
do to you, Stav? But go ahead.
You put too much emphasis on the lip service bit, right? And we don't walk in Roman shoes. Lip service means staying alive in some cases. You have to take into account that there are some very suspect countries and suspect people around the world. That's what lip service means, right? I explained yesterday that his contact with Putin would have been because of the fact that he was a governor and things like that, right? Stewardship, right, is taking him away from the focus of any potential sanctions, right? Now, I do have an interest in politics, and I watch Prime Minister's Question Time, right, every week, okay, every Wednesday. For the start off, right, the British government, have been criticised, right, because they don't even have the legislation, right, to sanction individuals. Okay, so why everybody's getting worried about Roman being sanctioned is beyond me. They don't even have the legislation in place to sanction individuals, only companies, right? And the thing is, that's why we've now moved it to a foundation, charitable foundation, so they can't sanction Chelsea PLC, right? I explained yesterday what Chelsea PLC is, how the whole thing functions, right? Who runs what, okay? Even including the Chelsea pitch owners. There are many facets to Chelsea which make it difficult to sanction it. There are many facets to Chelsea which make it difficult to just have a straightforward sale. Okay? Right? Now, he has no intention of selling that club. Okay? The word future in that statement means something. Pay more attention to the word future than you have been to the word stewardship. Right? He's going nowhere. Trust me. He's going nowhere. Right? Mika Richards is a pleb. That's an English word, right? That Matt will understand. He's a pleb. He doesn't have the level of understanding or intelligence to understand what that statement means. Okay? People appeared on Sky Sports News, right? Collie Sovokol, right? Who does the transfer thing. Yeah? And he said he's going nowhere. Okay? And various other journalists know he's going nowhere, right? He's not going anywhere. With regards to the debt, right? The debt is owed by the club.
Yes, I was going to ask you that. Do you think he'll be pressured into calling in the loan?
How are you going to pressure him into calling the debt? Why would he call in the debt when he's worth 12, 13 billion? That money's irrelevant to him, right? The debt is his debt as well.
Let me say this, Stav. Let me say this. Let's be objective here.
I'm being
You and I
objective.
know how proud Russians are. If it comes to their national interest, he can be. I still think he can be pressured into doing that.
By who?
Putin can pressure him into doing that. I still do think that.
How can he pressure him into doing that?
If the situation escalates into, because most definitely the British government will sanction Russia. America would do, and some other countries. And if the situation isn't resolved as soon as possible, it could become even more worse than something like that, up to the extent that something like that can happen. That's my point.
No, you're just overthinking the whole thing, right? He can't pressure him into calling in the debt on the club, right? Just forget about that. Stop worrying about that. Stop worrying about him moving on, right? He hasn't been involved directly, right, since he left the UK and moved to Israel. But nothing ever gets done, right? And I've said this 100 times when criticisms of Marina over contract dealings and things like that, they all go through him. He makes the final decision whether somebody gets the money or not. She goes back to him. This is what he wants. No, negotiate him down, right? He still has the final say. All he's done, right, it's a public vision, right? It's a vision for the public, the government, anyone else, right, the media, right, that he's no longer involved, right? But nobody does anything without Roman say so. Nobody, right?
All right.
And, so stop worrying about it, right?
I'm not going to worry anymore. All right, so just Viola, please take note when we're switching to the predicted lineup. Go ahead, Stav, if you're saying something.
Right. Just like one last point, and I've told you this time and time again. Like people, like yet last night, the so-called Chelsea supporters, went to Sky Sports News and said that they're concerned about the statement. They want to know what it means, right? Well, they're just about as intelligent as Mika Richards, right? If that's what they need to know. If you want to know something, what the statement means, go to the club, don't go running to the media, right? They're all promoting their own self-importance. They're irrelevant. They are irrelevant if they can't just contact the club and say, can you please tell us what it means? For anybody with half a brain, right? Matt?
All right.
Matt, I'm not saying you've got half a brain. You understood it, didn't you?
I understood it. We have to be objective. The purpose of this stream is to help others understand.
Everyone else in this stream understood it. Everyone else in this stream understood it because they stopped to think. People with an agenda, right, or their own motives, or their own self-importance, right, like some content providers who saw it as a good move, but then mourned that the chairman of the foundation is Bruce Fuck, right?
Yes. Okay, so Stav, let's quickly, because
stop worrying about it. Stop worrying about it.
I promise you.
He's going nowhere. He's not calling any debt in. Right? He will be the owner for a long time to come. Right?
Thank you
very
much.
Let's move on then.
Yeah, so let's move on. Just y'all at this, I don't know how many minutes Harry has here, but whenever he's ready to leave, he's done great for us today. So now, Harry, you still got like how many minutes? I don't know how much time we'll have you here.
About 5 more minutes.
Okay,
you name your thing first.
A lot can happen in 5 minutes. Let me just edit this quickly. Capital is small. So quickly, Harry, I'll start with your choice. Between the sticks, who do you think will start there?
To be honest, I think it's going to be Mendy. And I listened to the press conference yesterday, and he said that Kepa, absolutely deserves to start there. And, you can't really deny that. At the end of the day, he's been playing in all these cup competitions, and he's not really put a foot wrong. All season really, he's been fantastic. But when there's an opportunity to win another trophy, I just don't think you can look past Mendy. I think he's probably been the best goalkeeper in the world for the last year at least, and he's just come back from winning 2 trophies in the last few weeks. So he's full of confidence. He's a big character. It's going to be a game where you'd expect Liverpool to create a few chances, and it feels harsh not to pick Pepper. I think you've got to go with your best goalkeeper when you've got a chance to win a trophy at Wembley.
So Mendy for you. Okay, quickly give us your choice for the 2 6s.
For the 2 6s, I think I'd probably go Kante and Kovacic. I think Jorginho's a good player. I know there's always a bit of a mixed opinion on him, but I say my only criticism of Jorginho is sometimes he can get run by quite easily. And I think at the moment when Kante's fully fit,
Stav will love you for that statement. Go ahead.
I think when Kante's fully fit, at the end of the day, he is probably the best in his position. He's fantastic at intercepting the ball, and he played quite well the other day. And I think Kovacic has been fantastic for the last year. I think he's probably arguably one of our most improved players. Definitely in the last sort of 6 months. Anyway, obviously we can't forget about his goal against Liverpool in the league as well. I mean, it was
that was delicious.
Yeah, and I think where you can a lot of the ball, you might want a Jorginho just to sort of move a few players around. But I think Liverpool, they're going to come at us, and I think particularly on the counter attack as well, we're going to want players like Kovacic who are, he's fantastic at breaking the lines, and Kante's pretty good. I think I know that people like to criticise Sarri, but I think Kante's actual attacking his attacking play has actually improved massively since Sarri was pushing him up a little bit more. He's much more versatile than I think people give him credit for. And I remember a goal against Leicester it's probably before Christmas. I think it was the game before the Juventus one at Stamford Bridge. What a fantastic goal! So it's in his locker. He can do that, and I just feel like them two, at their very best, are our strongest 2 midfielders.
Okay, how about your? Do you still have a minute, or is it time up?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, how about your left wing back?
Left wing back. Oh, this is a difficult one. I'd probably edge Malang Sarr. I know it's not his natural position. I know he's, predominantly a centre back.
Okay.
But you just have that fear with Alonso. As much as Alonso's fantastic at the sort of set pieces, Liverpool are probably one of the fastest teams when it comes to, attacking. And, I just worry seeing like a Salah or a Mane running at Alonso. And again, that's no criticism of him. He's a good player, Alonso. I think he gets more criticism than he actually deserves at times. Because, you go back to the start of this season, he was our first choice left back. And to be fair to him, he was putting a shift in. I think he actually scored our first goal of the season as well, a fantastic free kick. And, if he's on the pitch and we get a free kick, just outside the box, I don't think anyone's going to say, they don't want Alonso taking it because his success rate of that is fantastic. But, if we
your choice there is Sarr.
Yeah, just for his versatility. Well, I say versatility. He's very good at going forward, and he is quick, and he's not afraid to put his foot in as well. And he looks for confidence. Yeah, definitely Sarr for me.
Okay, and left wing back, right wing back.
I got a bit of criticism for this one, but I want Reece James to start. And I think his position's improved now because Christensen's out of the game with an injury, I believe. So, I know people will say, no, it's a bit of a gamble. He's come back from an injury. He's been out for a while. But, he just offers so much going forward. And I just think when you've got a player that is an athlete like he is, and I just think we're going to need to get early crosses in today, and there's nobody better than that than Reece James.
And for the 2-8?
I'm going to... It's not necessarily what I want, but I think it's what it's going to be. I think Havertz is going to be playing today, and I think Mason Mount will as well. And that's quite harsh on Ziyech, because Ziyech is obviously, he's been in probably our best... Out of all the attacking players, he's probably been in the best form. I think Lukaku's going to start, so I've kind of jumped ahead there. But
I think Lukaku will start?
Yeah, I think he will, and I think Havertz will play slightly further back. And I think Tuchel likes Mason Mount. And the one thing Mason Mount doesn't probably get enough credit for, which is what the managers like in him, is he always is chasing the ball down. You know, he never gives defenders a second on the ball. You know, and I look at some of our other attacking players; they almost make it too easy for the defence just to pass around for a bit and without putting that pressure on. I think it will probably be, and I could be completely wrong here. I think it will be Lukaku up front, and then you'll have Havertz and Mount behind.
Havertz and Mount as the 2 number 8.
That's the one.
Okay, you're 3 at the back. That's all that's left. If you still have time, give us those so I can get the inputs of the others. We'll build the lineup.
Thiago Silva definitely for me. I think Rudiger's got to play as well. Obviously, Rudiger's been fantastic.
To the right.
Yeah, and then I think it's a toss-up here between Chalobah and Azpilicueta, and I think I'd go Chalobah. And I know Azpilicueta's an experienced head, but when you've got 2 experienced players like Rudiger and Silva around, I think we need 3 experienced heads there. And I think Chalobah will offer that extra bit of pace that we desperately need there, because as we were saying, I think Liverpool in the attack are such a fast counter-attacking team, and as much as I know Azpilicueta is fantastic, he reads the game really well. I don't think he's ever made a mistake actually that's really led to a goal. That doesn't sort of reach out to me. I just think Chalobah just offers that extra bit of pace around Thiago Silva, and we're going to need that, I think, today. I just desperately think it.
So you have Mendy for the 260s, Kante and Kovacic, left wing back Sarr, right wing back James, 2 number 8 Havertz and Mount. For the back 3, it is Rudiger, Thiago Silva, and Chalobah, right?
That's the one.
So I got you all your players, and again, Harry, I appreciate you finding time to join the panel, even though I didn't reach out to you on time, but I appreciate that, and hope to see you next. That's Saturday. That's when you're on the panel for Blue Morning, right?
Brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, and I appreciate you getting me back on as well, and good to meet all of you as well.
More thanks to you.
Okay, guys, thank you.
So now coming to you, I'll start with you, Helgi. Who would you pick for between sticks?
Who would I choose personally, or who?
For the goalkeeper, your choice. Yeah, because it's a vote, and that's why I'm writing. I was writing that.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're in the chat, let us know who you would want to start between the sticks.
Mendy. It's undisputable in the sense of, without any disrespect to Kepa, but it's a cup final. You start the best keeper, and as simple as that.
How about you, Stav? Who would you want to start between the sticks?
Who do I want?
Yeah, who do you think will start if you want to? That's up to you.
It'll be Mendy.
It will be Mendy. Will start. I think I'm going to go against you guys, even though you guys have won the vote. I think for me, I think Kepa will start this game, but I think majority here says Mendy. I think Kepa will start, but let me add Mendy there.
You better go and have a lie down when you finish from here.
Sorry?
So you better go and have a lie down when you finish this.
Yeah, I have to. The back 3 for you, Stav.
Back 3 for me. Rudiger, Silva, Azpilicueta, because I think Mane will be too cute for Chalobah.
You think it's Chalobah?
No, I said Azpilicueta because I think Mane will be too cute for Chalobah.
Okay. And how about you? Helgi?
Yeah. It's a complicated one, because if Christensen was fit, I would go with Rudiger, Christensen and Thiago. But now that Christensen isn't fit, we have to play with Rudiger, Thiago, and Azpilicueta.
Okay, another Aspi. So let me just plug it in. It is Rudiger here. Silva. And Azpilicueta. Okay, Helgi, you're 266.
the fact that Tuchel has rested Jorginho for a while now, he didn't play in the Club World Cup final at all. Didn't play on Tuesday, and I think that he will start with Jorginho, and I also would, in a sense, that we start with Jorginho and Kante, because we may need to progress the ball central today, and we struggled a bit with Kovacic and Kante in terms of controlling the center against Lille. It's one of the toughest predictions you can make. I'm making it a blend of a personal choice and what I think that Tuchel will do. Kante will 100% start. I think it's a match between Jorginho and Kovacic. He may use Kovacic as a wild card when the game progresses, as he did against Palace, and he gave another spark to the vertical play. So maybe the fact that he got subbed off against Lille, it doesn't mean that he isn't fit. He's fit, as we have seen, but I think to have he may go, and I also would go with Jorginho and Kante, the pivot who started in the Champions League final, and then use Kovacic as a wild card option to give energy to when the other are tired.
Okay, for me it is Kante, Kovacic. You said Jorginho and who?
Jorginho and Kante.
Jorginho and Kante. Okay. Astap, have you given me your 2 6s? And if you're in the chat, let us know the two guys will be the double pivot.
Unfortunately, Jorginho and Kante.
Okay.
But you wanted to fight, didn't you? Admit you want to fight.
No, I don't want to fight. I'm really asking a good question here. If you're in the chat, let us know. Of the bench, possibly. For the 2 6s, if you're in the chat, let us know who do you think will be occupy the double 6s position. Okay, we have another KK here. Okay, one, 2, 3 KKs, 2 JKs. Let me see if I get any other response. The 2 6s is what we're looking at right now. I think we have Kante in all of them, so I'm going to plug in Kante there while I wait for the other answer. Okay, 1, 2, 3 KKs, 2 JKs. I think might start Jorginho, Kovacic, so another JK there. So do we have a tiebreaker here? Do we need a tiebreaker? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think we need a tiebreaker. I'm waiting. JK. So JK wins this. Jorginho, Kovacic. Wow.
Jorginho, Kante.
Okay. Is it Jorginho, Kante or Jorginho, Kovacic? If you're saying JK in that, because okay, that's what it is. Jorginho, Kovacic. All right, but I'm going to say I think it will be Jorginho, Kante. All right, Helgi, for you, the left wing back position, who do you think starts?
It's a tough one. Personally, as I said, if Christensen was fit, I'd play Aspi on the left and Reese on the right. Now that Christensen isn't fit, I'd play Aspi in the back three, and personally would go with Malang Sarr, but I think Tuchel will go with Alonso. So it's difficult to choose.
Alonso, okay. Okay, for people in the chat, the left wing back position, who do you think will start? Stav, how about you, the left wing back position?
Alonso.
Alonso.
I'm giving you Tuchel's choice.
Okay, I'm going to say I think he will start Malang Sarr in this one. So we have 2 stars, 1 Alonso. If you're in the chat, who do you think will start? Okay, I've seen one. Who do you think will start in the left wing back position? One, 2 star. Mika is saying big up to you. So I think Alonso wins that one. So but Alonso will start. So Alonso wins it. I suspected that. Start for you, right wing back position. Yeah, no choice, the class says. Stab, are you there? The right wing back position. Who starts?
I don't think he's going to risk Reece James so soon when he's only just back in training, which makes me rethink the centre back. If he's fit, it'll be Reece James. If he's not, he'll play somebody out of position, possibly Pulisic.
Mm. Okay, you said who?
Right. If he thinks he's fit enough, Reece James.
Reece James, okay.
But I think
So we
he'll
have
be Pulisic.
we have two Jameses here, and I see another James in the chat. Yep. And Declad says who? Declad asked a question. When have you since saw that in game? I think there was a time we switched in game and he played there, and I think just for security, for defensive reasons, he might start him there because Liverpool are a different animal. They're not like other teams. You could say, okay, let's manage Alonso or something like that. But even though, like I said, Salah hasn't started there before, that is, as a starting player, he's played there. We switched formation in game and he's played there before. So let me see. I think James is looking like James will win at the right wing back position. The Clad. Okay, Chichi said I just realized I had Lukaku saying his feet for the final, and whenever that dude starts talking, Tuchel ends up starting him. That's hilarious. Okay, Reece James is not even match fit, but Tuchel is confusing us because he said he trained very well. Okay, let me look at that again. So you said James, right? Stav?
Yeah, I said James, but I think that could be Aspilicueta with Chalobah at right centre half.
I think we have more people here saying James. So, but Chichi is saying
I don't think he'll start him.
Match fit. Sorry?
I just don't think he'll start James. He might come on second half. But
So who do you think will start there?
Well, I just said I think realistically he's either going to play somebody out of position or he'll play Aspie there and start with Chalobah. Who knows with Tuchel? I just think it's too soon for Reece James to start the game.
Here's what I think will happen. Well, even though the vote is saying we have three Jameses here, I think it will be here, Chalobah.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, that's what you're saying now. And then who here? Aspie. Yeah, I think that's what it will be, except if it didn't play the three at the back system.
And then James will replace Aspie in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to play him for that. He's not going to play him 90 minutes. He's not going to play him for 90 minutes.
Who's not going to play 90 minutes? Chalobah?
No, James. He won't play him for the full 90 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He traveled with a team in Abu Dhabi to have individual training, and now he's been back in full training for 3 or 4 weeks. So I get that the normal process of integrating a player back from an injury is
it's not 3 or 4 weeks, though, is it?
Minutes, but it's a cup final against Liverpool, and Tuchel said he's tempted to start him. So I think that he will take a gamble on that, and Reece will start.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about the 2-8. Helgi, pick your 2-8.
Mizaki Sela said today that Pulisic is in contention to start, so one of them is definitely Pulisic.
So Pulisic and who?
And I would go with Ziyech, but I feel Tuchel. It's very difficult to choose between Mount and Ziyech. I think we will start with Mount and Pulisic due to the system that saw Ziyech on the bench also in the Club World Cup final. So Mount
you said Mount and Pulisic, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Stav, your two number 8s.
Can you still hear me? Can you hear me?
Who? Yeah, I can
said,
hear
can
you
you hear
crystal
me?
clear.
Yeah, because I've lost the picture. Right, I'll make it simple for you. Pulisic, Mount, and Havertz, the last three.
Havertz as a number 9, Pulisic,
And
Mount.
Mount.
Okay. Why did you leave Ziyech out? I'm surprised.
I'm not picking the team I want. I'm picking the team I think Tuchel will.
Okay. So Pulisic, Mount. Let me see what Declan says. Pulisic, Mount. Wow, that's uniform. Any other person? I think you guys have won. That's what I'm gonna plug in there. But I think really, I think what's his name? DX starts this game, but I'm gonna plug in what you guys picked because you guys won. So it's Pulisic here on the left, right?
I would start Ziyech, but I'm basing also on reports in terms
No,
of.
I understand, but we'll see what happens. Mount, and then Havertz here.
Yeah, Havertz for me as well.
Let me see if anybody in the chat differs. Okay, 2 ZX. Yeah, we've lost this fight, Phantom. I'm sorry, unfortunately for us. So I think what we have here is Mendy between the sticks. The back three is Rudiger on the left, Silva in the middle, Chalobah to the right. That is if it is three at the back system. And then left wing back, we have Marcos Alonso. Right wing back, we have Cesar Spilicueta. The 260s, the choice for Jorginho and Kovac 1. And the 2 number 8, it is Christian Pulisic and Mason Mount. And the number 9, it's Kai Havertz. If you have any question, quickly put it in the chat so we can address it and call it a day. And that's the lineup we picked. You're looking at it on the screen. You have to look at how we played Man City and Liverpool in the previous matches. I'm not sure what Declan is trying to say. If anybody understands, please let me know.
It was so there were too many differences in the way we approached the game, so I don't find any similarity, at least in principle.
Mm-hmm. So, Stab, do you have anything for this Declan statement?
What's it say? I can't see it.
He says you have to look at how we played Man City and Liverpool in the previous games.
Yeah, what's his point?
I'm not sure. I don't think Declan
Right,
wants to join today. Maybe he's at work because I did have the link is in the chart. But go ahead, you were saying something.
Yeah, listen, right. It's I think it's 9-10 o'clock in the evening in Australia. Right. For me, he will not pick Ziyech. He won't pick Kovacic, right? Because they both got injured during the week, and he won't risk it, right? To start, that's why I've gone with Mason Mount, who's had a rest to an extent, right? The only thing of the team that I named, right, that I have doubt about is that Havertz may start instead of Pulisic and Lukaku play up top, but it's not what I would do. I think Lukaku needs to be left out again.
Agreed.
Yeah, nobody picked him, but you never know. Tuchel might just decide to
stick him in there. I'm thinking that he may pick him, but it depends. We don't know what his state of mind is, right? Only Tuchel knows that. So he may decide against picking Lukaku.
Possibly.
I'll stick by the team that I said. I just don't think he'll start Ziyech or Kovacic when they've just been injured the other night. So, I mean, they were only contact injuries. So, but you know what he's like with players who've picked up an injury. And I might point out that I also told you at the time that Ziyech was a contact injury.
Okay, so I'll give quickly so that we can get the class input.
If there is one game, at least in principle, that Lukaku shouldn't start, is this one, because we have shown the approach that we have had against Liverpool in the past games, that we have had so we've played 2-2 to them, and Lukaku is the one who theoretically initiates the pressure, and it's like
They will
a
find.
very appropriate game to start him today. We need versatility in attack, and the front three. I think it should be um, Pulisic. So Pulisic will start based on the records. I was I have doubts about the two eights, but
Mm-hmm.
100% Havertz should start up top.
Yeah, he will.
Also, Declan, let us know what you think about the lineup overall.
Yeah, he will. He'll start.
That's
Again.
right.
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
Declan is breaking up. Are you there, Declan?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, crystal
Yeah.
clear. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, sorry. Like I saw Stav, lying down, so I thought I'd try it too, and then I missed the link, and I didn't get to join.
I'm not lying down. I'm sat up. I'm sat
Yeah,
up.
are you standing up on a pillow?
No,
It looked really comfortable. I almost fell asleep.
Yeah. Well, I was falling asleep earlier on because he kept ignoring me. He was
Yeah, he
avoiding
did.
me. You noticed that as well,
And then
didn't you?
VJ came on, and VJ would have killed you. VJ would have put you to sleep with the numbers, the finance side.
Well, I already understand the finance side as well. Believe me.
Yeah. Stav is a statistical man too in terms of the club's finances. Declan,
I'm
tell
laid
us
down
what you
now.
think about this lineup.
I'm late.
Yeah,
back now.
I'll go off my statement that I said, which is why you have to look back those two games. The approach to those games was we had to press high, win the ball high up the pitch, while also counter pressing as well, right? Because they press hard. Liverpool and Man City press so hard, so we have to be defensively sound, but we got to press on the front. That's why Mount gets in before Ziyech, right? That's why we need Havertz, right? And Pulisic done that too, and he showed some form as well. So that's why Pulisic gets in for me. I had
what I said.
Christensen before I heard he was out. So the Chalobah position could also be Rudiger there and Sarr on the right. That is up in the air, I think, right?
You could argue that. You could argue that Sarr will start on the left and Rudiger on the right, possibly.
Yeah, because last time Chalobah made a mistake, but he had an okay game. The thing with those guys, they will just be given one role. Like Sarr will just be given like a shutdown role on Salah or Mane, something like that. That's all they'll be. Plus SB Alonso. Like Alonso won't come back that much. But Jorginho is important because of playing at the back and counter pressing. That's why his role is there. And Kante plays because he's part of the press up at the top. So that's my lineup. And for me, sorry, I missed out Kepa. I want Mendy to start, but I think Kepa starts just because.
That I said the same thing too. It just that the fact is majority carries the vote. I had to stick in Mendy there because more people in the chart and on the panel.
Mendy before the game said, sorry for going. Before the game said that Kepa deserves it due to sending us here to his performances in the past rounds, but I won't get sentimental, which is a hint that he's at least trying to.
Here's one thing really that annoys me. Here's one thing that annoys me about people saying that it's using the term sentimental. It's not sentiment. It's not sentiment. He may read. That is his Kepa's form in the absence of Mendy warrants him starting between the sticks. I don't know where the argument comes. I'm not saying that most people, that's the way they phrase it. They say it's sentiment to allow Kepa start between the sticks because Mendy is back. But it doesn't make sense. It's no statement. It's no sentiment in any way because in the absence of Mendy, Kepa, he was brilliant.
But
he's in a lot of games. So it's not fair to really say it's sentiment for him to start in the final. Go ahead.
It was rewarding, is what I looked at it, because Tuchel did it in the last cup. He had the choice as well, but he played Kepa in the finals. He rewarded him for every game, and he kept the cup as his, right? And people are trying to say that just because he copped that long range goal, or that Tuchel's going to learn from his lesson or something like that. Tuchel would have looked at that goal and said, that's just a freak luck because those don't go in all the time. And if
And yes, and why didn't our midfielder stop him? They were there pointing finger, trying to find who's gonna mark him. Is it you? Is it me? And then he had all the space in the wall to shoot in the first place. Nobody talks about that.
And it was a good shot as well.
yeah, so they're
Right
they're
in the
free
corner.
concurrents. Tactics don't really like tactically. If everyone's going to take a shot from that far, majority aren't going to go in. So that looks like a success. You know, let him shoot from that far. But still, I think Tuchel will play Kepa just because that's what he did. But I can see him playing. I want Mendy to play. If that makes sense. I just see Tuchel doing it.
I'm surprised that Declan is compromising today. But at least you understand my argument and other people's argument. If Kepa starts between the sticks, it's because that is his performance warrants that he starts between the sticks. But unfortunately, most people don't see it like that.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Right. First of all, this sentiment thing's just an argument used to put Kepa down and pick Mendy and all that, right? Now I've said Mendy in my team, right? Tuchel doesn't do sentiment. That's why he comes out with comments like he absolutely deserves it, and and he's unlucky and all this kind of stuff he comes out with, right? And that's what he says. He doesn't do sentiment. Doesn't pick a player on sentiment, right? He did that in the FA Cup, but to blame Kepa for that goal, right, is nonsense. And then ignore the fact we couldn't score at the other end anyway, right? So how did Kepa cost us that final when we couldn't even score? So that was that. But he doesn't do sentiment. Tuchel doesn't do sentiment, right? And also, I'd point out that the shot save percentages are pretty similar, right? And Mendy wasn't really on form before he went away. And I'm not just talking about the West Ham game. It wasn't his only mistakes, right? But he will pick Mendy, even if it's only on the strength of the fact that he picked Kepa last year, right? So he's going to pick Mendy now. So that's why I think he'll pick Mendy. If he did pick Kepa, nonsense about it being sentiment. If he picks him, it's because he believes he can do the job. And anybody who wants to put Kepa down, still now, even these days, right, really needs to have a look in the mirror, because he's justified. If he's selected, he's justified the selection. But I don't think he will pick him. And let's just stop all this nonsense about sentiment, right? If he picks him,
it is no sentiment in any way. Quickly, go ahead, Helgi.
To reply to stuff, because I didn't intend to put down Kepa in any means. I also have credited him with reviving his career at us, and I'm
not talking about you, Helgi.
What he has done for us. I just quoted what Tuchel said yesterday, on Friday in his pre-match press conference, and that's all.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Hold on, stop. Let me finish. Go ahead.
I'm agreeing with Helgi.
I'm grateful to what he did again in the Club World Cup semi-final. I'm grateful to his penalty saves against Villarreal. I'm grateful for his penalty saves and also his performances during the normal time in the other rounds. But I think that he will start Mendy, because Mendy is the number one keeper of the team, and it's a cup final. I didn't even think about the FA Cup final last season. It's just something that I took basing on what Tuchel said 2 days ago. I really respect both of our keepers, and if some other teams struggle to find a stable number one, we actually have two very decent goalkeepers. So as Tuchel said, it's a...
Can I ask you this? Let me ask you this quickly, Helgi. If you were Thomas Tuchel, would you have started Mendy in the final of the Club World Cup?
Of course, yes.
Then you're telling me, how can you still tell me you respect Kepa if you do that? And I mean, you're practically telling him he's worthless. He's only worth something when Mendy isn't around.
No.
Hey, worthless is a bit strong.
Because if
Yeah, a strong word. Yeah.
This is a complicated situation because I can come at you and say that we disrespect Mendy.
Okay, let me put it this way to you, Helgi. I'll let you finish. Yeah, let me put it this way to you. And that is the problem with us Chelsea fans. And that's because we always believe there's a starter, there's a backup. And I've said this like a billion times. And that's an issue. We should always have starters, just like Manchester City. When player A isn't available, player B comes in and does the job, and you don't start just because there's no, at Manchester City, I don't believe there's a tag. This person is number one, this person is number two. It depends on your performance. And if we're being objective, if we're being truthful to ourselves, Mendy shouldn't have started that game. We have to be honest.
Why?
You mean in fairness?
In fairness, exactly. In fairness, and there's no sentiment about it. Even my brother and friend, Teron, have said it is a sentiment. And some other friends I have also, that's it. We have right to our, opinions. But the truth is, if we're going by form and the way things should be done in a club where you have a team, it should be by merit. And if we're saying by merit, really, Mendy was crappy before he left for AFCON.
I just said that.
Yeah, but just echoing what I've said. But go ahead, Mel. That's a question I declared. Go ahead, declare.
Yeah, the merit part is it's Kepa that played all the cup games. That's the merit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's a good one.
See what and this isn't something new. Yeah, what a lot of coaches do, and because they need their second keeper with some game form, they give them the cups. They say this is yours, right? And they got a lot of time to study in between, and that's why I bet you Kepa has studied a lot of penalties. I think he's going to be more prime for penalties. Doesn't matter if he's better. It's that he made it his cup. He studied which side players shoot. He doesn't have much to do, so he can focus on these games. And that's what a lot of managers do. They give him the cup. And to go to back to the interview, that interview was vague. That interview was very misleading. Like to tell everyone's talking about Rhys James. Rhys James doesn't have a chance to come back. Everyone actually is convinced that Rhys James, that hasn't played for 2 months, is going to jump into a cup final game.
Did you hear what I said?
That's what Tuchel has done.
Declared, did you hear what I said?
Nah, you're just sleeping for me.
No. I'm not going to bite.
Sorry, refresh me. Sorry, you said a lot of stuff.
I'm not going to bite you, Aussie git, right? Right. I said that originally, right, I had Aspie at the right centre half position, right? But then when we got to the wing backs, I said that I cannot see him starting Rhys James. So I've had to rethink what I said. I think that'll be Aspie or someone playing out of position, right?
Like Hudson.
And if Aspie's there, then Chalobah will have to start because I would not trust Malang Sarr, right, to play against either Salah or Mane, right? No disrespect to him, right? But like
I think Sarr has a bit more of a case.
Oh,
you think he's got more of a case?
I'm sorry, Chichi is killing me in the chat.
Yeah,
I'll come back to you,
Chalobah has the more pace. He's sharper, right?
Yeah.
He reacts
but
better.
Chalobah made the mistakes recently, and where Sarr had a good game against Sterling and Man City.
You have to.
You're not gonna.
The fact was
so you're not gonna pick
Chalobah just
Chalobah.
returned from injury. Then he was a bit rusty. You could argue that.
Can I ask a question? So you're going to pick Chalobah because he made mistakes, right?
No. I was saying it's a bit hard for me to split them, and I think Sarr has shown a bit more in the bigger teams, slightly. So I wanted Christensen over them just because it was cup final.
So would I.
Yeah,
okay,
and
Stav,
so it was hard to split them, and that's my reason for splitting them, Sav. Just
go ahead.
Just a better form.
Yeah, Stav, can you touch on this statement by Chichi there? It's annoying when people say bring in Kepa for penalties, like that's what he should only rely on him for.
Yeah, well, you keep bringing that up, that he's good at penalties and this and that. Now, personally, okay.
In the that's game, an accusation, hang
on, I'm trying to answer the question. You be quiet and then let me answer the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Right.
I wish
In
I
the
could see
time that
stats.
Mendy was away, yeah, Kepa conceded 2 goals. Right, one of them was three. He conceded one from De Bruyne, right, and I don't care. Mendy wouldn't have saved it either because it was a disguised shot right into the low post, right, low down, right near the post.
Well placed.
Right, well placed, right.
He
The two headers,
tricked Kepa.
the two headers he conceded, one against Brighton and one in the cup. That's down to the defenders because they allowed 3 point blank headers at the goal. No keeper would have saved them. Even the people on TV said it. So he conceded 3 goals in all those games. Mendy conceded 3 goals against West Ham, and he made mistakes. He made mistakes. The penalty was a mistake, and he allowed that one near post. Right? Yeah, it was a freak shot, but I keep hearing about his height and his reach and things like that. Right? He should have reached that ball. Freak shot and or not, or deflected or not. He was close enough to that post to react to it. So he concedes three goals in one game, and he conceded others before that, and then instantly comes back and goes straight in a final that Kepa should have played in. You know, I said Kepa deserved that, but I looked at the situation when you asked the question at what I thought Tuchel would do. Okay. And Tuchel will play him today because he will deem that as an edge over Liverpool because Liverpool are going to play Kelleher in goal, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's got to be a bit easier than having to face Alisson. But when he's played in the cup games, he's been good, Kelleher, right? Now, I just don't like this sentiment thing. He's done enough, right, that if he's selected Kepa, right, to justify selecting him, right? Let's stop this sentiment garbage. If Tuchel in his mind thinks that Mendy can handle certain things better, or he feels more comfortable with him, and he picks him, I have to accept that as well, right? Now, if it goes to extra time, I believe we have an extra substitution, so we may see a change again, right? Now, I don't like this routine that it's sentiment. Kepa has proven himself and earned his right, if he gets selected. People need to forget that season.
And respect the guy.
Because, respect the guy. He's fought back, right? And I said the other day, Lukaku needs to look at him, right, as an example. And he needs to look at Mendy as an example because Mendy was unemployed, right? He was left without a club.
All right, Simon. Let's bring it home, and I appreciate what your input on this statement here. Declan, what's your thought on this statement on the screen?
Yeah, it is annoying because people don't understand that in certain situations, if you rely on bringing Kepa in for penalties, what happens if you need those subs? You can get injuries. You can get anything. And what happens if you use up your subs because you need to use them? You know, you get a red card, you need to change the game, and then what? The whole thing you planned on for Kepa to do penalties, and now he can't come on, and now you got to keep it unprepared. It's illogical. That's not how they think, right? So the keeper that is starting is the one that is doing penalties, unless for some freak situation they plan that and they make sure Kepa gets on before full time. But that doesn't happen. That was one case in the World Cup, and everyone is hanging off it. So it won't happen. So the keeper that starts is planned for penalties as well.
If it goes to extra time, you get an extra substitute, right? Yeah. But they can't. It's not going to go to penalties in normal time, is it? It's going to extra time when you have that extra substitute. So you still pick. He will still pick the keeper he thinks is better for the game for the 90 minutes. Right, that's up to Tuchel, and I can't argue with Tuchel's choice. That's his choice, right? He can't pick a keeper based on penalties, right? Yes. Because the penalties only happen at the end of extra time, and you've got to get to the end of that extra time. You have a substitution extra now in extra time, right? So that's when you start thinking about Kepa, and even then in the extra time, you're thinking, Have I got players who are fatigued, etc., etc.? That situation with Maurizio Sarri, right, in the Carabao Cup against Man City, when Kepa was allegedly refused to come off. Right, I just want to make this last point, and then I'm off. Right,
Allegedly.
people have misconstrued that whole situation. Right, Kepa had gone down twice. Right, with cramps. Right, now when he was waved off, right, he thought that they were telling him to come off, and he put his thumb up, saying, I'm okay, and that's why he waved his hand, I'm okay. If you watch it closely, when the physio gets back to the bench, he also tells Sarri, right, he gives him the thumbs up and says he's okay. Now, it's up to the manager to transmit to that goalkeeper that you're going to come off for penalties, right? And I'm going to put Willie Caballero in. I don't believe that was ever communicated to Kepa. And Kepa's response was because he believed they thought he was injured. You have to look at the whole thing. Yeah, okay, fine, you can argue. The manager said, come off, right? But it was a total misunderstanding. And Sarri's reaction as well, right, was to go and kick a gate in anger. Just send a message to him. Get one of the players on the pitch and say to him, right, you've got to come off because he wants Willie on for the penalties. Instead of just standing there, speak to the players and get one of them to go over to him. Instead, he's standing there waving his arms around. Sorry, right? The same thing. That was bad communication. People still crucify Kepa for that situation.
All right, Sam. Let's bring back to where we are today. I think that's a bygone. Actually, if you ask me, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that you took a minute or two to explain that what you believe happened on that day. Helgi, quickly. I saw a statement here by Chichi says something. He's telling Phantom, okay, brace yourself. Lukaku will likely start because, like a statue, it's immovable.
It is a strong possibility.
Okay, Helgi, over to you. What do you think about that statement? I didn't want to start with Declan because he would just use his mouth to destroy the brother.
What, Chichi?
The statement.
Yeah, she says she's talking to Phantom. Says brace yourself. Lukaku will likely start because, like a statue, he doesn't move.
Do you know what's so interesting about Lukaku starting for me? None of us want it, right?
No, none.
But for all the slander he's copying, especially me, I'm big into that. I do it for fun now. So all it's going to take for Lukaku to have a decent performance and a winning goal, even, right, to really start turning that around. The trip to turn people's head the pathway for Lukaku to come back is very short. He only needs a few goals in big games, especially this one, right? If he does start. But if he starts and if he has such a terrible game, the same, let's say 8 touches this time, not 7, 8 touches, right? And he's almost responsible for our loss, right? As well. Then everything that you hear and the slander, everything is going to be 10 times, right? And it's going to get that bad that the guys he's probably not going to play again. And he's probably want to get out of the club, and he's probably going to force a move. You see him do like what Diego Costa did. He'll be in Italy, with an Inter flag. Inter top, and demanding a move. He'll be almost. It will be bad for him. So it's a real big gamble to put Lukaku, and it can go either way. It could be his saving grace, or it could be his demise. But he shouldn't start. I don't want that gamble.
Helgi, go ahead. I was avoiding Declan, but he cut me off and spoke his mind.
Oh, sorry. I thought you told me. Sorry, Helgi.
No.
My bad. I heard my name.
I knew I was going to resolve your input on that for last. Go ahead.
No problem.
Sorry. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
You want to see the comment?
No. Yeah. No.
This is the comment here.
He just can't start. I said before the comment. So when we discussed the predicted lineup, because it's a high intense game, and our approach against Liverpool in the past 2 or 3 games has been crystal clear in the sense that we haven't set back, but we have had a go at them. We have pressed them, and it's a proof now that we can do it with much higher efficiency when we don't play with a recognized number 9, and even better when that number 9 isn't Lukaku. So the Lille game is a recent evidence on that attack is much more fluid without a recognized number 9, and especially when Havertz plays there, we can create chances more, we can exploit the chances more. The other players play better, so the 2/8s, and I don't see any logical reason why he should start, because it's not a game to make experiments, it's a game to win. And when you have a cup final, you play a best team, and the best team doesn't consist of Lukaku. So simple as that.
Yeah, that's a great response. Does anybody here have anything else to say so we can call it a day? It's approaching 3 hours because we still have the pre-game show lineup and analysis. And by the way, Helgi and the Clad still have a few days left in the coming week if you want to be, because during weekdays it is one-on-one, the host, the panel. Only for Saturdays, then we have it's a marathon. We have multiple people on the panel. So Declad, reach out and tell me what day works best for you, and you do the same, Helgi, so I can book you for Blue Morning this coming week. Yeah, so anything from anybody else? If not, we can call it a day. And I want to say thank you to Chichi Eze, who's in the chat, and also Phantom of Many Topics, my brother Eric Blue, another brother, stopped by to say hello. He says Declare Kepa came on in the Super Cup as well. Yeah, he did, and that was a brilliant move there by Thomas Suku, and he won the competition for us. It was pre-planned. Yeah, that's the truth. And I also want to say thank you to you, bro, for stopping by. Chichi Eze, Just Viola, Mikhail, my brother, and every other person that that was in the chat but have left. I appreciate you guys. You guys provide great value to the stream. So, anybody want to say anything else? If not, we can call it a day because we've streamed for it's almost 2 hours 30 minutes now.
Yeah, you didn't mention me again. Coach, couch.
Staff, do you need a handkerchief to cry? I can get you one.
No. You left me out so long I nearly fell asleep. Declared
yeah, because
right.
you already had. I already have you booked for the week. So Declared, anything else, bro?
You haven't told me.
Score predictions. We do that later.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, what do you think the outcome will be?
He's gonna stay up for the game. Do it later.
Oh yeah?
No, he can say it here. No problem.
He's gonna watch the game.
Just in case I'm not on later.
Yeah.
You're not gonna watch the game.
No, it's 3:30 a.m. I'll try to get a nap and then try to wake up, and yeah, might not be in the perfect state to be on stream as well.
So what do you think the outcome will be?
I'll say that. I'm thinking 1-0 Chelsea, a heart attack all the way to the end. So keep your heart rate low. Try breathe. Stav, you relax. Keep doing what you're doing.
I'm laid down again now.
Lay down for the whole game. Relax. The game's gonna get heart rate high.
I go in the living room for the game because the Wi-Fi doesn't work in my bedroom, and I use an
Android. Take that Chelsea
box.
pillow too into your living room.
Okay.
No, that's a quilt cover.
1-0, I think it looks like it's going to be a tight one. I don't think we will concede easy goals. Like I think the lad is right. I don't think we'll concede easy goals like we did the last time we played them. We went down 2-0 before we came back, and then the game ended in a draw. So, Stav, you want to say anything, Helgi? Anything so we can call it a day?
No, I said it already. I'm gonna have what time is it? 3:30 here.
Okay.
I'm gonna have 2 hours sleep. Get up and put the TV on so I can watch the first half of Ajax while I'm on your show.
Okay.
You're not gonna watch West Ham game? Watch Declan Rice. Yeah.
Nah, Sodom. bloody puffed the bloody pikeys.
All right, Helgi, you want to say anything? So we call it a day.
No, a pleasure always to be here, and hopefully we will win because it's a cup final.
I hope so. Are you going to be available for the pregame show?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I will be. I will be there.
All right. And with that, what we say goodbye. I hope to see you tomorrow for another Blue Morning episode. And I'm not sure if I have. Okay, nobody. I haven't booked anybody for tomorrow.
I'll do it.
Yeah. So see you guys tomorrow, and thank you so much for providing value to the stream in the chat or however you participated. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much, and see you all next time. God bless you, and bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.